Welcome to the Crawlcast. I'm your host, George Krawczak, and today these are my predictions for Night of Champions 2025 in Saudi Arabia. And first off, I just want to say, sorry about this new background. Right now, it's 100 degrees in my house, and we're doing a heat wave, and I'm trying not to die. Not to die of heat stroke. That's my challenge. Hopefully, there will not be a part two, like Gone Wrong video coming out soon. Yeah, sorry about the background. That'll be fixed shortly, and sorry if you can hear any fans in the background. That'll also be fixed hopefully shortly. So now, if you like this type of content, just hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. Now let's get started. So first, I want to address something real quick. Because this show is in Saudi Arabia, and there's the whole issue with Iran and Israel and the U.S., there's talks about the show being canceled or potentially moved out of Saudi Arabia. I don't think that's going to happen because I think there's an almost 0% chance that Iran will hit this event. Because President Trump has already said if Iran attacks Americans, Iran won't exist anymore. It'll be completely destroyed by the United States. And if Iran attacks a major Saudi Arabia event, then it's both an American and Saudi Arabia event, and it'll probably force Saudi Arabia to attack them as well. Like Saudi Arabia will not allow this event to be attacked at all whatsoever, because you have to look at what these WWE shows are. It's Saudi Arabian government paying WWE tons and tons of money as a publicity stunt, saying, "Hey, look, Saudi Arabia, we're now a great country. We're embracing the West. We're not like abusing people anymore. We're moderating, and everything is really great with Saudi Arabia. So companies should invest here, and people should move here, and governments should make good relations with Saudi Arabia." Regardless if that's true or not, that's the goal, is to make this a giant publicity stunt. And that's what they've always been. That's why you have golf tournaments in Saudi Arabia. And now you're having a big American event in Saudi Arabia. If a terrorist attack happens there, then that will set Saudi Arabia back a while in their publicity. So there is 0% chance that Saudi Arabia will allow this event to be attacked because they just don't want to have the stain of them being a dangerous place anymore, because they're trying to get away from that. Because again, if an attack happens there, it'll cost Saudi Arabia a lot of money and a lot of publicity. So I don't think so. Like I said, I think there's an almost 0% chance this event gets attacked. But also you have to keep in mind, like a 0.01% chance is still a chance, and maybe that's too. Oh, sorry about that. That's too high of a risk WWE is willing to take with this event. So like I said, I don't think it'll be canceled. I don't think it'll be moved. And now let's get into my predictions. So this is the replacement match for the Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles match for the Intercontinental Championship. So that is no longer going to be defended on Night of Champions. It's kind of interesting. If I had to take a guess, I assume it was probably Dominic Mysterio's call to not go. It could have been either of them or both of them, but I would say it's probably Dominic Mysterio, because I think if AJ Styles says, "I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia, I want to stay in the US," then they could just say, "Okay, AJ Styles is injured, so let's have a new challenger fight Dom for the Intercontinental Championship." Whereas if Dominic says, "I don't want to go, I want to stay in the US," then you can't have someone else defend the Intercontinental Championship. So it could be either one of them, but I'd say it was probably Dom's decision. And it just feels weird because Night of Champions, their big selling point is every single title will be defended on Night of Champions. But on this show, only the WWE Championship and the United States Championship is being defended. So not the Intercontinental Championship, no Tag Team Championships, no women's titles, whether top, mid card, or tag team. And it's just weird because it feels like they should just made it King of the Ring as well. Like they did King of the Ring in Saudi Arabia last year, so just do that as well, because you're having the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. So just don't call it Night of Champions, call it King of the Ring. So anyways, this match of Karrion Kross versus Sami Zayn, I really want Karrion Kross to win. I think Karrion Kross deserves it so much. He's had such great character work really since WrestleMania, and I think he deserves a push so bad. But I just don't see it happening. I don't think they really know what to do with him. I think he's kind of on his way out. And so I have to pick Sami Zayn. And ever since Sami Zayn has been allowed to wrestle in Saudi Arabia, he's been getting huge reactions. So I think it's going to be a nice feel good moment, him winning. I really want Karrion Kross, but I just can't pick him. I think it's going to be Sammy. So the next match is Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. And I think there'll be a new United States champion in Solo Sikoa. So I think this will be the end of Jacob Fatu's reign, because I think what will happen is JC Mateo will cost Jacob Fatu the title, and it'll go on to Solo, and this will be kind of the impetus of Jacob Fatu rising out of the mid card. I do think the bloodline's not over with. I think because this it's kind of starting to feel like the Judgment Day, where it's like, okay, you did have a good story with the bloodline when it was with Roman, although it got a little bit convoluted. I'd say probably the last year, maybe year and a half, it was terrible, but it got a little bit convoluted, and they just don't want to let it go because at this point, Sokoa has no credibility. People like Jacob Fatu. No one really cares about Jeff Cobb, or I'm sorry, JC Mateo. No one cares about the Tamatanga or Tangaloa. It's just it feels like a mid card bloodline that no one really cares about. And so I think this will be the breakup, and maybe you'll have Jimmy Uso return, and you'll do kind of maybe a Jimmy and Jacob versus Solo Sikoa and JC Mateo, like in a tag team match, and then Jacob Fatu will move on and rise to the main event level and kind of leave the mid card bloodline behind him. And then Solo Sikoa, I still think he is a decent wrestler, and I still think he can be a decent character. That he just needs to be like basically be rebuilt from the ground up because he was such a like dominant force, and everyone saw him as the next top guy in the company. And then he's just fallen. He lost to Roman Reigns on the January Netflix show, and then all of a sudden Jacob Fatu debuted, and it's like Solo who cares about him because now Jacob Fatu is the like new guy that now has all the momentum that Solo had. I know it feels a little bit too late, and it might be too late for Solo, but I feel like at this point they need to try something. So put the U.S. title on him, and then maybe start going the separate ways of the bloodline, where you can feud with Jacob Fatu for a little bit, and then just I don't know, move on from JC Mateo, and just there's no point of this anymore. I feel like the bloodline just needs to end. It's gone on for too far, and it's just not good anymore. The next match is Jade Cargill versus Asuka for the Queen of the Ring title, and will be able to pick a world title match at SummerSlam. So I think Jade Cargill's doing this. It is interesting with Asuka because they're having her return, and I can see a Asuka Kyrie or not Kyrie saying I Asuka Io Sky feud, which I think will be pretty interesting, and that would be a great SummerSlam match. But I think this kind of needs to go to Jade Cargill. Ever since Naomi won Money in the Bank, Jade Cargill needed to win Queen of the Ring. And so what'll happen now is one of two things will happen. Either Jade Cargill will beat Tiffany Stratton for the title at SummerSlam, and then Naomi will immediately cash in on her, or uh, at some point Naomi will cash in on Tiffany Stratton, and it'll be Jade Cargill versus Naomi for the title, and Jade Cargill will win the title at SummerSlam. And so that kind of feels like the direction to go. And I know it's obvious, but sometimes obvious is the right choice, and that's what you need to do. And so I think because obviously she is the next top women's star in the company, and they need to push her like that. She started off very, very hot, and then she kind of cooled off. Or I think she took some time off because unfortunately her mom passed away, and she had a couple of personal issues to go through, which is fine. But she really needs to start gaining momentum back from what she had, and I think winning Queen of the Ring will do that. And she kind of feels like the new Gunther, where it's like she'll elevate the women's division just by being on top and winning Queen of the Ring. So again, I know it's obvious, but obvious is the right choice. The next match is Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez in a street fight match. I just have Rhea Ripley winning. I'm gonna be honest, this match doesn't mean anything. It's the most thrown together of thrown together matches. I don't think anyone really wants to see this, although it could be a good match. Street fights are always exciting and cool, but I'm just saying Rhea Ripley's going to win because Raquel Rodriguez has been like a nothing tag team with playing second fiddle to Liv Morgan, and there's really just they're not doing anything with her. Whereas at least Rhea Ripley is going to be in the world title picture for the foreseeable future, so Rhea Ripley needs this a little bit more than Raquel Rodriguez. So that's why I'm picking Rhea Ripley. But overall, this match really doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't matter, and it's been really like thrown together last minute. I'm kind of surprised they didn't have something like this at Evolution, but maybe that card's gonna be a little too stacked that they kind of put this down. Or Rhea Ripley's gonna be in a better match because Rhea Ripley's obviously a star, and there's no way she's not going to wrestle at Evolution too. So the next match is Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes for the title of Men's King of the Ring. So this one's kind of interesting, and I feel like it's kind of a bad move putting Randy and Cody in the finals, especially Randy, because I think it would be very cool to have them feud against each other because you have that legacy connection, and they've kind of traded places where Randy's kind of more the mid card guy and Cody's the top guy, and I felt like they could have told a cool, interesting story there instead of just a thrown together one off match that not a lot of people are really going to care about. And then also, I think it makes it very obvious that Cody's going to win because if you had Sami Zayn in this position, I think a lot of people can say, oh, okay, as like a callback to the WrestleMania match, I can see a Gunther versus Sami Zayn at SummerSlam. But I don't think anyone is really clamoring for a Randy Orton, John Cena, another match of them because they just wrestled at Backlash like 2 months ago. And then I don't think anyone wants another Randy Orton Gunther match because they wrestled last year in the King of the Ring finals, as well as I can't remember what pay per view it was, but an additional pay per view. So in the past year, we've already seen these matchups, so I don't think that's going to happen. And I also think it's kind of a wrong decision for Cody Rhodes to win. I am picking Cody Rhodes because, like I said, it seems like he's the only one that can win. But so he faces Cena, right? I think you can't have either of them lose at SummerSlam. So Cena won the title at WrestleMania from Cody Rhodes. His only goal, I think that was a mistake, that putting the title on Cena too early. Because Cena has specifically stated, okay, in my final year with the company, my only goal is to break Ric Flair's record and win the title. And he's done that. And so now, once he's won the title, he says, okay, now my goal is to retire with the title and quote unquote ruin wrestling and say, okay, anyone, I have never been beaten for this title, so everyone, if I relinquish the title because I'm retiring, everyone past me is a fake champion. So that's the story there. But let's say John Cena loses to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. Then what's his goal? He already won the title. He failed at his mission of retiring with the title. So why would he want to wrestle in kayfabe for the next, between August and December? That's why I think it was a mistake where it's like I think he should hold the title till his probably final match and then lose it to whoever his final opponent is. Because again, if he loses it too soon, what's the point? Why would he still want to wrestle for the company if he failed at ruining wrestling and making everyone else a fake champion, and he failed at and he already succeeded in his goal of becoming a WWE champion? Maybe you can throw the Intercontinental Championship into the mix, but that feels like a major downgrade being from the world title scene to going for the Intercontinental Championship. And so I don't think you can have Cena lose at SummerSlam. And also, I think once someone beats this big bad heel Cena, that feels like it's going to be a monumental moment and a great moment. Do you really want to waste that on SummerSlam, or do you want to be like, okay, you can I feel like there's so many other possibilities. Like you can have Seth try to cash in on him, and have people try to convince him like, don't cash in on Gunther for the world title. We need you to cash in on Cena because if he takes the WWE Championship with him, that is terrible, and everyone else will have like an asterisk next to their name. So please, you can have like other wrestlers saying, please Seth, cash in on Cena, or you can say like, okay, this Cena's final match. That is the absolutely last opportunity for someone to take the title from him. So there's major stakes to it. And then I feel like you can't really have Cody lose at SummerSlam to Cena because I think everyone acknowledges. Granted, things can change in 3 months from August to December. But I think everyone acknowledges Cody is the top guy, and they're going to revert back to him as the top guy once Cena loses the title. But if Cody loses at SummerSlam, why does he deserve another title shot? He lost to Cena at Mania. He's lost if he loses at Cena at SummerSlam. He lost twice to John Cena in a short period of time. And now come December, like in John Cena's final match, you want Cody to wrestle him again? Why does Cody deserve that? I feel like he hasn't earned that at all. So I don't know. I feel like it's a bad move to have either of these two lose at SummerSlam, but I am picking Cody Rhodes to win the King of the Ring just because it just makes sense over Randy Orton. I wish it was Sami Zayn in the final so you could have it go either or, like could be Cody, could be Sami, but overall I'm picking Cody. And the main event is John Cena versus CM Punk for the WWE title. I think John Cena is going to win this, kind of plain and simple. Honestly, the big interesting story about this is just like Cena cut a really great pipe bomb on SmackDown and kind of called CM Punk a hypocrite, which is true. He is, but I don't necessarily know if people don't recognize that because he was always the guy that says, I don't need WWE, I'm walking away. And then when he came back to AEW, he cut so many promos about saying how he'll never go back to WWE and AEW is the place to be. And like ironically, even kind of made fun of himself in retrospect because he's like, I'm still gonna be here in AEW. Well, MJF goes main events, a buy one 3 night pay per view. I can't remember exactly, but something like that. And then kind of like saying, well, if you're main eventing a multiple night pay per view, it's not really the main event. And then, of course, he main evented night one at WrestleMania. And then this whole Saudi Arabia story, which, yeah, it is interesting because it's kind of one of two things happened. Either CM Punk coming out against Saudi Arabia and going to Saudi Arabia, it's one of those things. Either he believes it's wrong to wrestle in Saudi Arabia and he's willing to ignore that for lots of money, or he didn't believe it was wrong in Saudi Arabia and he'll just kind of attacking WWE because at the time he was a huge WWE hater and I was like, hey, I'm gonna try to create any excuse to hate on them. Which, again, I think everyone acknowledges that. And he is been a big hypocrite throughout his career, but that I don't think a lot of people really care. And I think it's still like a little bit hanging on to the blending of kayfabe and reality that people do miss, and which is understandable because I think a lot of people do miss it. But overall, this is going to be a pretty easy match to predict. It's going to be John Cena. Hopefully, no Travis Scott. And it should be a good match because I think CM Punk's probably John Cena's greatest rival. And, there's still a couple rivals left. But I think the big issue with John Cena's heel turn is that it kind of felt like a failure where you had, the whole big moment of you had John Cena turning with The Rock and Travis Scott, which The Rock then left, and Travis Scott, to this day, no one knows why Travis Scott is there. And we haven't really seen him since WrestleMania. So hopefully he's out of it because no one really liked him there because no one understood why he was there. And John Cena, because he's not the best wrestler, he uses a lot of like pomp and crowd work to get through his matches and make them entertaining. And for his heel run, he's just stopped doing that. And so that's kind of the reason why it feels like it's been a little bit of a bust and not that entertaining. But this should be a good match and probably one of his best because, again, a lot of John Cena's greatest rivals, like The Big Show or Edge, are not there anymore. And so CM Punk's the big one remaining. But again, there's just no way at a random Saudi Arabia pay-per-view to probably CM Punk, of all people, he's going to lose the WWE title. So those are my predictions for Night of Champions 2025. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And like I said before, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. And if you want to know my more immediate thoughts on things, make sure to give me a follow on Twitter/X. It is Crawcast. And like I said, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that follow button, make sure to hit that subscribe button, make sure to hit that like button. And if you have any thoughts on this, make sure to comment below. I'll see you on the next one.